It was a bright afternoon in Beverly Hills. The sun shone brilliantly over Rodeo Drive, where the most exclusive luxury brands lined the streets. Among the well-dressed elite stepping out of black SUVs and luxury sports cars, an elegant woman in her mid-70s walked confidently toward a high-end fashion boutique. She wasn't just anyone. This was May Musk, a woman who had graced magazine covers, walked runways, and raised one of the most influential entrepreneurs in the world, Elon Musk. Dressed in a stylish yet understated outfit, May carried herself with the grace of someone who had seen the world and understood its depths. She was there to browse, perhaps purchase a gown for an upcoming event. The scent of fine leather and expensive perfume filled the air as she stepped inside. But the moment she entered, something shifted. A young sales associate glanced at her with a subtle sneer. It wasn't the usual warm greeting reserved for wealthy clientele. Instead, it was a cold, dismissive gaze, one that silently questioned whether she even belonged there. May smiled politely and walked toward a shimmering display of designer dresses. As she reached out to touch the fabric of an elegant midnight blue gown, the saleswoman stepped in front of her. "Excuse me, ma'am," the woman said, her voice syrupy yet condescending. "That collection is exclusive. Perhaps something from the other section would be more suitable." May blinked, surprised. "Oh, I was interested in this one." The saleswoman's smile didn't reach her eyes. "These are very high-end pieces," she emphasized, her tone laced with assumption. For a brief moment, May hesitated. She had been around long enough to recognize the coded language. It wasn't just about price, it was about perception. To this woman, she was an elderly lady, not a high-profile model. Not someone worthy of their most exclusive designs. May straightened, her voice as composed as ever. "I see." She turned on her heel and walked out, leaving the store behind. But something about the experience stuck with her. Little did that saleswoman know, the woman she had just dismissed was the mother of a man who had reshaped the world, Elon Musk. And when he heard about this, the entire world would soon know, too. As May Musk stepped out of the boutique, she wasn't angry. She was reflective. It wasn't the first time she had encountered this kind of treatment, and she knew it wouldn't be the last. But something about today felt different. As she walked down Rodeo Drive, memories of her journey flooded her mind. She had spent decades proving people wrong. Born in Canada but raised in South Africa, she had built a name for herself through sheer resilience. She wasn't just Elon Musk's mother, she was May Musk. A model, a dietitian, a businesswoman, and a fighter. She had started modeling at just 15, navigating an industry that thrived on youth and impossible standards. But May had broken those norms. Even as she aged, she refused to disappear. At 60, when most women in fashion were pushed aside, she made a stunning comeback. By 69, she became a cover model for Sports Illustrated, proving that beauty had no age limit. But life hadn't always been glamorous. There was a time when she was a single mother, struggling to put food on the table for Elon and his siblings, Kimball and Tosca. She worked 5 jobs just to keep the family afloat. She rented tiny apartments, sometimes sleeping on the floor. And through it all, she taught her children one thing: resilience. Elon had inherited that spirit. He watched his mother fight, work, and build her way up. He saw how people underestimated her, how she never let them define her worth. So as May walked away from that luxury store, she wasn't just thinking about herself. She was thinking about every woman, every older person, every individual who had ever been judged based on appearances. And she knew one thing for certain: Elon needed to hear about this. As May continued walking down the glitzy streets of Beverly Hills, she wasn't just replaying the moment in the boutique. She was reliving decades of struggle, sacrifice, and survival. She had always been an outsider, someone who defied expectations. Born in Canada, her family moved to South Africa when she was just a child. Her parents, Wynne and Joshua Haldeman, were adventurers, explorers who once flew a small plane across Africa in search of the lost city of the Kalahari. May grew up with a sense of independence, knowing that life was unpredictable and survival depended on resilience. By 15, she was walking the runways of South Africa, carving out a name for herself. But modeling alone wasn't enough. She had a brilliant mind, one that excelled in science and nutrition. She pursued a degree in dietetics, knowing that she needed more than beauty to survive in the world. Then came the toughest chapter of her life. She married a man who seemed charming at first but turned into a source of pain. The marriage was abusive, both physically and emotionally. For 9 years, she endured it, fearing for her children, but also fearing what leaving might mean. Then, one day, she made the hardest decision of her life. She walked away. She took Elon, Kimball, and Tosca, packed her belongings, and left. The world didn't make it easy for a single mother in the 1970s. She had no financial support, no safety net, but she had her education, her determination, and an unbreakable love for her children. She worked tirelessly, juggling 5 jobs at once, modeling, running a nutrition business, giving lectures, taking on research projects, anything to put food on the table. Sometimes, they lived in tiny, cockroach-infested apartments. There were nights when they couldn't afford heating, and May would tell her children to wear extra layers to bed. But she never let them see her break. She taught them to dream beyond their circumstances. She told them stories of her parents' adventures, instilling in them a belief that limits were meant to be pushed. Elon, always the quiet and curious one, soaked it all in. He spent hours reading books, diving into science fiction, and teaching himself programming. She never imagined that the little boy coding video games in their cramped apartment would one day become the man who would send rockets to Mars. And yet, despite everything she had overcome, despite reaching the heights of the fashion industry in her 70s, she had just been dismissed in a store as if she were invisible. The old May might have brushed it off. But today was different. Because this time, the world was watching. And May Musk had nothing to prove, but she had a message to send. As May reached a quiet corner of the street, she took a deep breath. The frustration wasn't just about herself. It was about a system that judged people by appearance, wealth, and perceived status. She wasn't just some old woman walking into a boutique. She was someone who had fought for everything she had, someone who had defied the odds time and time again. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts. Her finger hovered over one name, Elon. For a moment, she hesitated. She wasn't the type to complain. She had raised her children to be strong, to handle rejection and setbacks with dignity. But this time, something inside her told her that Elon needed to hear about it. The phone rang once, twice. Then his unmistakable voice came through. "Hey, Mom," Elon said, his voice warm but slightly distracted, likely in the middle of working on one of his many projects. "Everything okay?" May let out a soft chuckle. "You know me, Elon. I'm always okay." Elon immediately picked up on the subtle shift in her tone. He had spent his whole life watching his mother put on a brave face, but he knew when something had upset her. What happened? His tone was sharper now, more focused. May sighed, debating how much to say. "I just had an interesting experience at a luxury store. I walked in, wanted to look at a dress, and, well, let's just say they made it clear they didn't think I belonged there." There was silence on the other end. Then Elon's voice dropped to a dangerous calm. "They what?" May shrugged, trying to downplay it. "It's not a big deal. I've dealt with worse." But Elon wasn't having it. "No, Mom. It is a big deal." His voice had the sharpness of a man who had spent his entire life defying expectations, breaking barriers, and proving doubters wrong. "They dismissed you?" "In a store that sells overpriced fabrics stitched together for status symbols." May chuckled softly. "That's one way to put it." There was another pause. Then Elon's voice came through, quieter but more intense. "Which store was it?" May hesitated. She wasn't calling him for revenge or to start an outrage. She had simply wanted to share the moment with her son. But she also knew that when Elon set his mind on something, he followed through with it. "Elon, don't do anything drastic," she warned. Elon's next words were firm. "I'm not going to let this slide." And with that, the wheels were set in motion. Elon Musk, the man who had built Tesla, SpaceX, and revolutionized multiple industries, was about to remind the world of one simple truth. Never underestimate the people you think don't belong. Elon ended the call and sat still for a moment, gripping his phone tightly. He had faced rejection his entire life, bullied as a kid, doubted by investors, mocked by the media, but nothing made his blood boil more than seeing his mother disrespected. He wasn't just angry. He was calculating. Elon Musk didn't react impulsively. He wasn't the type to march into the store and demand an apology. That was too small, too ordinary. No, he was going to do something bigger. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling of his Tesla office. The world operated on perception, status, wealth, and exclusivity. This luxury store had built itself on the idea that only a certain type of person deserved access. They had dismissed May not because of her real worth, but because she didn't fit their preconceived image of wealth. And that was their weakness. Elon smirked to himself. All right, he muttered under his breath. Let's see how they handle real exclusivity. He opened Twitter, his favorite battleground. A single tweet from him could shake stock markets, send companies into crisis mode, or change the trajectory of entire industries. But instead of typing, he paused. No, this wasn't just about calling out a store. This was about something bigger. He tapped his fingers against his desk, letting the idea take shape. What if he didn't just expose them? What if he flipped the script? What if he created something so exclusive that it made their so-called luxury look cheap in comparison? His mind was already racing through possibilities. He could buy out the store overnight, shut it down, and turn it into something else. He could publicly shame them and tank their brand value. But those were expected moves. Elon Musk didn't do expected. He picked up his phone and dialed another number. Not his legal team, not his PR department, but his design and engineering team at Tesla. I need you all on something, he said the moment they picked up. We're going to redefine what luxury actually means. And just like that, a plan was set in motion. A plan that would make that boutique regret ever underestimating May Musk. Inside the boutique, the two sales associates who had dismissed May were laughing quietly. Did you see her face? One of them whispered. She actually thought she could afford anything here. The other smirked, adjusting a display of designer handbags. I mean, seriously. These kinds of places aren't for everyone. We have a brand to maintain. Neither of them had the slightest clue that the woman they had just sneered at wasn't just any elderly lady. She was May Musk, an international supermodel, businesswoman, and the mother of one of the most powerful men on the planet. As they continued their shift, completely oblivious to the storm brewing outside their pristine walls, the store manager walked in. She was a tall woman in her early 40s, wearing an expensive black blazer and sharp stilettos. With one glance, she could tell that her staff was gossiping about a customer. Ladies, she said coolly, her voice carrying authority. Something I should know about. One of the saleswomen, still grinning, leaned in as if sharing a secret. Just another one of those types. Walked in like she belonged here, but obviously not our clientele. The manager sighed, half expecting this. It was standard practice in high-end boutiques to subtly push out customers who seemed unworthy. After all, exclusivity was part of the allure. But she had no idea how wrong they had been. And she was about to find out the hard way. Later that evening, as the boutique prepared to close, the first tremors of the coming earthquake hit. It started with a single tweet. Elon Musk, with over 100 million followers, posted just a few words. A luxury boutique refused to serve my mother today. Big mistake. Huge. Within seconds, the tweet exploded. People flooded the comments. Fire which store? We're boycotting them. Fire May Musk is a legend. Who dares to disrespect her? Fire luxury isn't about price tags. It's about class, something that store clearly lacks. In less than an hour, the hashtag Respect May Musk was trending worldwide. News outlets picked up the story. TikTok and Instagram flooded with videos of people calling out the elitism of luxury brands. Celebrities, influencers, and even major business executives started weighing in. The boutique, once a place that prided itself on being exclusive, was now being publicly shamed on the biggest stage possible. Meanwhile, in a sleek penthouse office, Elon Musk leaned back in his chair, watching the chaos unfold. This was only the beginning. The boutique had made one fatal mistake. They thought May Musk didn't belong. Now, Elon was about to show them who really decides the rules of luxury. Inside the boutique, the atmosphere had shifted from smug confidence to sheer panic. The store manager's phone buzzed nonstop, calls from corporate, emails from PR teams, and urgent messages flooding in. She pulled out her phone and opened Twitter, her eyes widening in horror as she saw hashtag Respect May Musk trending globally. The comments were brutal. Police car light, fire the staff immediately, or shut down. Police car light discrimination in 2025. This store deserves to go bankrupt. Police car light luxury is about class, and this store has none. The two saleswomen who had turned May Musk away now looked pale, whispering to each other in fear. What do we do? One of them asked, her voice shaking. We didn't know who she was, the other said, as if that excused their behavior. The store manager slammed her phone down onto the glass counter. It doesn't matter who she was. You treated a customer like she was beneath you, and now we're getting destroyed online. One of the women tried to defend herself. But we have standards. We can't just. Shut up, the manager snapped. You don't get it, do you? You didn't just insult anyone. You insulted the mother of Elon Musk. The room fell into stunned silence. The manager took a deep breath. Damage control was needed immediately. Call PR, she barked at one of the assistants. We need a public apology, fast. But before they could even type out a statement, a new problem arose. The luxury brand's stock price had begun to drop. Investors were pulling out. Public trust was plummeting. And then came the final blow. A new tweet from Elon Musk. This one was far worse than the first. Elon Musk's second tweet was short, but it carried the weight of a billion-dollar revolution. Luxury isn't about gatekeeping. It's about vision. Time for a change. Beneath the tweet was an image, one that sent shockwaves across the internet. A sleek, futuristic Tesla luxury concept store, designed to redefine wealth and status forever. No price tags. No judgmental salespeople. No barriers. Just innovation, elegance, and an invitation for anyone to experience true luxury. Social media erupted. Fire, this is the future of luxury. Fire Musk just declared war on overpriced, snobby brands. Fire Tesla is about to destroy the entire luxury industry. Journalists scrambled to cover the story. Analysts started questioning whether traditional high-end brands could survive in a world where Elon Musk was now redefining what luxury meant. And at that very moment, the executives of the boutique chain knew they were finished. They had rejected one woman. And in doing so, they had triggered a revolution. While the world erupted in outrage, May Musk sat in her quiet home, sipping a cup of tea. She wasn't angry. She had faced rejection, struggle, and adversity for decades. This was nothing new to her. But what was new was the sheer force of the reaction. She had never seen her son's followers move this fast. Her phone rang. It was an unknown number, but she had a feeling she knew exactly who it was. She answered, and a nervous voice spoke. Mrs. Musk, this is Angela Carter, the director of PR for. May cut her off gently. Let me guess. The boutique. A pause. Yes. Angela took a deep breath, clearly shaken. First, I want to offer my deepest apologies for how you were treated. That is not a reflection of our brand's values, and I want you to know that the 2 employees involved have been suspended. We would love the opportunity to make things right. May smiled slightly. Make things right? How? Angela hesitated, then delivered her well-rehearsed line. We would like to invite you back to the boutique for a private shopping experience on us. Anything you like, no cost. May let that sit in the air for a moment. Then she laughed softly. I appreciate the offer, she said, her voice kind but firm. But I don't think you understand. This was never about a handbag or a dress. This was about how you see people. How you judge them before they even open their mouths. Angela started to interject, but May continued, her voice unwavering. You didn't apologize until you were forced to. You didn't care until the world cared. That's not real change, that's damage control. Another pause. Angela's voice was lower now. So what can we do? May's smile faded. You need to rethink what luxury really means. Because if you don't, someone else will. And with that, she ended the call. She glanced at her phone, scrolling through Elon's latest tweet, the one about redefining luxury. She chuckled. Her son wasn't just calling out one store. He was about to shake an entire industry. Inside the boutique's corporate headquarters, the atmosphere was chaotic. Executives shouted over each other in a high-rise conference room as the stock reports flashed red on the screen. Investors were pulling out. Brand partnerships were crumbling. Even celebrities who once flaunted their products were now distancing themselves. The CEO, a silver-haired man in a $10,000 suit, slammed his fist on the table. We need a solution now. A junior marketing executive, sweating under pressure, raised his hand cautiously. Sir, what if we rebrand? We could push a campaign about inclusivity, maybe donate to a charity. The CEO scoffed. A charity won't fix this. This is Elon Musk we're dealing with. He's not just shaming us, he's replacing us. Silence. Everyone knew it was true. Luxury had always been about exclusivity, about who was allowed in. But now, Musk was rewriting the rules. And the worst part, people loved it. The head of PR cleared her throat. "We have one last shot," she said. "We need to reach out to Elon directly. Apologize publicly. Offer to collaborate. Maybe if we—" But before she could finish, the CEO's assistant burst into the room, breathless. "You need to see this," she gasped, holding up her phone. The entire room turned toward the screen. And there it was, Elon's next move. The final nail in their coffin. Elon Musk had just posted a video. A sleek, cinematic masterpiece that looked more like a trailer for the future than a simple announcement. The screen opened to a new kind of luxury store, one unlike anything the world had ever seen. No gatekeeping. No snobbish salespeople. No judgment. The latest AI-driven personal stylists, offering luxury tailored to everyone. Exclusive designs that weren't just for the elite, but for visionaries, dreamers, and innovators. A place where luxury wasn't about price tags, but about experience, innovation, and accessibility. The words Tesla Luxe, the future of luxury, appeared on the screen. And then, the final blow. Luxury isn't about excluding people. It's about elevating them. Elon Musk. The internet exploded. Fire, this is literally about to destroy the old luxury industry. Fire Tesla just went from cars to clothing. This man is insane. And I love it. Fire old money is panicking right now. Musk just made luxury cool again. Celebrities started endorsing the move. Influencers called it the next revolution. Even fashion critics, who usually mocked Elon's unconventional ideas, were calling it genius. Meanwhile, at the boutique's headquarters, the executives watched in stunned silence. It was over. Elon Musk hadn't just won. He had changed the game forever. The shockwaves from Elon's announcement rippled through the industry like an earthquake. Luxury brands that had spent decades building an aura of exclusivity were now scrambling. Stock prices plummeted for several major fashion houses. Investors pulled out, sensing a shift they weren't prepared for. Luxury store employees whispered about layoffs as foot traffic dried up overnight. The boutique that had rejected Musk? Within weeks, it was empty. The social media backlash had turned into a boycott, and the store was bleeding money. They tried rebranding. They tried slashing prices. They even tried hiring influencers to restore their image. Nothing worked. People weren't just angry. They were done with the old way of luxury. And in its place, Tesla Luxe skyrocketed. Opening day at Tesla Luxe. The first flagship store opened in Los Angeles. It was nothing short of a spectacle. Lines stretched for blocks, filled with everyone. Tech lovers, creatives, entrepreneurs, and even former luxury shoppers who had been rejected from places like the old boutique. There were no velvet ropes. No judgmental glances. Just people exploring, experiencing, and being valued. AI stylists created personalized luxury looks in minutes, offering futuristic fashion tailored to the individual, not their wealth. Every piece of clothing was designed with innovation, using sustainable materials and cutting-edge technology. And the best part, Musk was there. She walked through the store, welcomed like royalty. Not because of her son's fame, but because she represented the very people this revolution was for. Cameras flashed as she stood before the grand opening banner, looking out at the massive crowd. A reporter pushed a microphone toward her. "Mrs. Musk, how does it feel to see this moment? To go from being rejected at a boutique to standing here, at the launch of Tesla Luxe?" She smiled, taking in the electric energy around her. "I think luxury was never about money," she said. "It was about belonging. And today, Elon has made sure everyone belongs." The crowd erupted into cheers. The old luxury world was dead. And the new age of luxury, where innovation and inclusion reigned supreme, had just begun. As the cameras faded, the crowd dispersed, and the buzz of the opening day settled. Elon and May found themselves in a quiet corner of the Tesla Luxe store. May stood by a glass display, admiring the new clothing line. The soft hum of technology surrounded them. AI-driven design prototypes and holograms flickered in the background. It was a moment of peace amidst the storm of success. Elon, his usual determined expression softened, looked at his mother. You know, he began, his voice reflective, I never thought I'd be in the fashion world. I was just trying to build something better, something that mattered, but I didn't realize how much this could change things. May turned to him, her eyes full of warmth and quiet pride. You've always had the power to change the world, Elon. Sometimes it's just about seeing beyond the surface. You saw what the world needed, not just what it wanted. She paused for a moment, her gaze distant as she recalled the struggles of her own life. When I was younger, I faced rejection for being different, because I was a woman, because of my age, because of the way I looked. It was always a battle. But now I see the power in embracing what makes us unique. You made sure no one has to fight for that anymore. Elon's eyes softened, and he gave a small nod. You taught me that, Mom, he said quietly. I always knew I could do something extraordinary, but I didn't realize it had to be for everyone, not just a select few. A silence settled between them, filled with the weight of everything they had overcome. The years of struggle, the moments of doubt, and now the triumph. Do you ever feel like we're changing the world too quickly? Elon asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty. Sometimes, I wonder if we're leaving people behind in the process. May placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch firm but gentle. No, she replied. The world is always changing, Elon. It's up to us to decide whether we change it for the better. You're giving people options, the freedom to choose their own version of success, their own version of luxury. And that's the real gift. Elon smiled, but there was a heaviness in his eyes, as if he knew this journey was just beginning. Thanks, Mom. I needed to hear that. May smiled back, a small chuckle escaping her lips. You always did need a little reminding, she teased. They stood there for a moment, looking at the store, a place that represented not just innovation, but a new chapter for so many. Elon was a visionary, but today his mother had reminded him that his true power came from his ability to see people, to care about them, and to build for them, not just himself. The future was wide open. And together, they had just changed the game.